Hi there guys, this is Scapegoat Stephen. We're going to have a look today through the fourth of the primary faction books for Hordes. It's the Forces of Hordes Skorne book. So as you can see, we've got lots of heavily armoured guys on the front. Nice bit of artwork. Go straight into the inside cover. The Skorne, here we go, start with as normal with the fluff in the beginning. The Skorne I've previously likened to like a perverted version of the Roman Empire. You know, they're this heavily militaristic, very tactically minded army that's basically marched its way across half the world to wage war upon the cities and the countries and the other factions in the entire of the Iron Kingdoms. So you've got the military organisation of the Skorne Empire. It's a very militaristic organisation, and you've got basically talking about the year, the rise of the different castes. Nice artwork of Makeda there, who's the lady in charge of the Skorne. And we're on to the theme lists for Prime and Epic Makeda. Lord Tyrant Hexeris, Voidseer Moidikar, Prime and Epic Morgul, Domina Rasheth, Tyrant Xerxes, and Supreme Optimus Zal. It's got a bit about Skorne Warlock armour and weapons. Nice bit of artwork there about Zal. We go straight into Hexeris. He's a Fury 7, Warlock. Beat back, life drinker. He can reave Fury from a Warbeast if it dies near him. He's got Death March, Obliteration, Psychic Vampire, Soul Fire and Soul Slave. And his feat is when a living or undead enemy model is boxed by an attack while in his control area, you take control of it. It becomes a friendly undead model. If it's a trooper, it becomes a solo. It can advance 3 inches and make 1 normal melee attack, then remove the model from play. When making these attacks, ignore the effects of loss aspects on affected warbeasts. And this model cannot be targeted by free strikes during this movement. Dark Dominion lasts for 1 turn. So quite interesting idea for a feat. Kill something and then get it to kill something else. So potentially you could have an entire chain where a unit basically pretty much wipes itself out. Quite an interesting idea. Then you've got Prime Makeda. She has Carnage, Defender's Ward, Muzzle and Savagery, which is a nice combination of spells. She has Blood Quench, so she gains a cumulative +1 strength and armour for each living enemy model she destroys with melee attacks during her activation, which then lasts for a single round. Her feat gives friendly faction trooper models that are disabled in her area return to play during your next maintenance phase with 1 unmarked damage box. Place the return models in Makeda's control area in formation with their original unit within 3 inches of the model, and they forfeit their normal movement the turn they're placed. Quite nice. She gives inspiration to friendly Skorne units, so any models and units within her command range of 9 never flee and immediately rally. She has Sidestep, she has Magical Weapon, and she has Combo Strike. Combo Strike taking up to an effective power and strength 17. It's quite nice. Defender's Ward. If you're a Menoth player or you've played against Menoth, you know how nice that spell is. And we've got Epic Makeda, who's got Engine of Destruction, which gives herself +2 speed, +4 strength, +4 mat for 1 round. Makes a mat 11. Power and strength 16 on her swords, which is quite nice. And actually gives her a healthy charge range of 11 inches. Quite nice. She still has inspiration to Skorne. She has Elite Cadre, Praetorian Swordsman, so they gain Vengeance. And she has Stay Death, which is once per turn when a friendly living faction trooper model is disabled in this model's command range, this model can spend a Fury point to heal 1 damage point. Very nice. Her feat, Instruments of War. While in Makeda's control area, friendly faction models gain boosted melee attack rolls and cannot be knocked down or targeted by free strikes. Quite nice. You tend to find with Skorne there's a lot of focus on close range melee. However, a lot more of the more recent releases, which we'll see in the Domination and the Colossals look through, not Colossals, Gargantuans even, you'll see that a ranged element has definitely come to the fore now in Skorne. So you've got Mordecai, while in his control area, friendly faction models gain +3 defense, and Poltergeist, that's his feat, called Voidwind. He himself has Cool Soul and Poltergeist. Basically, Poltergeist is when an enemy model misses you with an attack, you immediately push them D3 away from you. Quite nice. Void Lord. While in this model's control area, friendly Void Spirit models gain boosted melee attack rolls. He has Life Drinker on both his range weapon and his melee weapon. He's actually got a range 10 power 13 weapon, range weapon. Banishing Ward, very nice. Essence Blast, Ghost Walk, Hollow and Revive on his spell list. Got Prime Morgul, this is the guy that comes in the battle box. He's only got 3 spells, but he's also only Fury 5. However, he makes up for it with 7 War Beast points, very nice. He has Abuse, which is a non-upkeep spell. So, target friendly War Beast gains +2 speed and strength for 1 round, but suffers D3 damage points. Admonition, which is basically if someone ends within 3 inches of him, he scarpers. And Torment, which when a model is damaged by it, it loses tough, cannot heal or be healed, and cannot transfer damage. Quite nice again if you're going for an assassination. Cast that first, then abuse a War Beast. His feat, however, is while in Morgul's control area, enemy models cannot spend focus, be forced, or have damage transferred to them. Pain and suffering lasts for 1 round. That is quite a nice one, to be honest, because it can shut down armies, especially if they're all very close to each other. He's also got Pathfinder, Anatomical Precision, Maltreatment, Overtake, Perfect Balance, Sprint, Double Strike, and Inflict Pain on his magical weapons. So as you can see, he's very good himself at potentially clearing out infantry. Because he's got a reasonably low power and strength, he's not going to be doing a huge amount of damage himself, say to like a Warlock or a heavily armoured unit. But he can trigger that 1 point of damage anyway. So again, quite nice if he wants to be going into some high armour but only 1 hitbox units. Get in there, kill them, overtake through a load of them, and then sprint away at the end of his activation. With speed 7, he's going to get quite a distance. It's quite nice. The epic version. His feat is Assassination Run. While in his control area, friendly faction models gain +2 defense and evasive. Evasive means he can't be targeted by 3 strikes, and they immediately advance up to 2 inches after an enemy ranged attack misses them. So that's quite nice. He's got Pathfinder, he's got Stealth, he's got Apparition, Arcane Assassin. He gives Pain Givers via an elite cadre. He gives them Perfect Balance, which means they can't be targeted by combined melee attacks, combined range attacks, or 3 strikes. Models don't gain the backstrike bonus against it, and when knocked down, the model can stand up during its activation without forfeiting its movement or action. Quite tasty. He's got it as well. He is a weapon master with Mercy, which is his sort of sword dagger thing. You can see over here in this nice bit of artwork. It's got a very original Karate Kid thing going on, where he's standing on top of a little pillar, or it's probably a Warjack steam pipe actually, isn't it? And then his Fan of Shadows has the blind special rule. Basically means they suffer -4 mat and defense. Quite tasty. So we've got Domina Rasheth. He's pretty much a purely support caster. He goes against the grain in Skorne society, because as you can see, he's a big fat man who sits carried around on a litter by some agonizers. Normally that would be considered somewhat unhonourable, because he's not part of the warrior caste. However, I believe he's in control of a very powerful house, so therefore it's overlooked for some reason. I'm not 100% au fait with the Skorne background, so I apologise if I got that wrong. He's actually quite good though. I mean, his feat, while in his control area, living enemy model suffers -2 strength and armour. And if when a living model is destroyed in his control area, he heals 1 damage point. And he's got 20 of them, and he's got 16 inch control range. Once per activation, this model can challenge a spell through a friendly warrior model in his control area. Once the spell is cast that way, the model that it was channeled through suffers D3 damage points. He suffers 1 less damage die against ranged attack damage rolls, and he can't be knocked down. He has Bloodmark, Breath of Corruption, Carnivore, Castigate, Influence, Sunder Spirit. So yeah, quite a few spells there. Tyrant Xerxes, or Xerxes, or I don't know how you pronounce it. He's got Defender's Ward, Fury, and Inhospitable Ground. That's a horrifically amazing set of 3 spells. Also only got 5 Fury. Feat's pretty good as well with Total Annihilation. While in his control area, friendly faction models gain additional an additional die on their melee damage rolls. And while they're base to base with another friendly faction models gain +2 armour. Quite nice. He has battle plans, which basically can affect friendly faction models or units. They can only be affected by 1 plan at a time. But he has Overcome, which gives them Pathfinder, and Press Forward, which gives them +2 speed. So quite nice. Friendly living faction warrior models with small or medium bases can ignore each other whilst within his command for line of sight purposes, and can move past and through each other. He's also got Overtake. He's got 2 melee weapons that are both power and strength 14. It's quite nice. Both got reach, both got magical weapon, and he can combo smite with them, so that's quite nice. We've got Optimus Zal and Corvus, or Kovas, I don't know. He's got Awakened Spirit, Hex Blast, Inviolable Resolve, Last Stand, and Sunder Spirit. And his feat is he gains a number of Ancestral Rage tokens equal to the number of friendly faction warrior models that have been destroyed and not returned to play since the start of the game. Yeah. While in his control area, friendly faction models can spend Ancestral Rage tokens on Zal to boost melee attack or melee damage rolls. At the start of the turn, remove any unspent Ancestral Rage tokens from Zal. So, if half your army's dead, then the rest of them can boost stuff. It's quite nice. He's got Gunfighter. He can transfer damage to friendly Ancestral Guardians. The ranged attack he has actually gives, basically, when a living model is hit by the attack, add its current strength to the damage roll, given that it's a POW 6 plus the model's strength. You know, and he can then boost the damage. Quite nice, and he can do that in melee due to Gunfighter, so that's quite nice. He's also got Direct Spirits, Ghost Sight, Soul Converter. Basically, Direct Spirits allows him to, when a friendly faction warrior model is destroyed in his control area, it generates a soul. You may choose which eligible model gains the soul regardless of positioning of other models. So it's quite nice, because you can deprive the crits of the soul tokens. He's also got Ghost Sight, which means he doesn't need line of sight to target friendly models with spells, and he ignores line of sight when making ranged and magical attacks. He ignores concealment and cover as well. And once per turn during his activation, he can spend 1 Fury point to give each Ancestral Guardian in his control area 1 soul token. Quite nice. His little friend Kovas is power strength 14, Incorporeal Undead Abomination. You can create a 4-inch AoE, which basically makes anyone that comes into it take damage. He also only spawns when a friendly Ancestral Guardian is killed. He's got a Thresher Reach melee attack. Quite nice. So onto the War Beast. It's got a bit of the artwork there showing how the armour is applied to them, and a bit of sort of them in their natural habitat. So we start with the 2 Basilisks. The Basilisk Drake basically can hand out Bushwhack, and it's got an 8-inch spray at power 14. That's basically it. It's a 4-point light. The Basilisk Kriya, however, is the one to look out for. It's got flank with the Drake. It's also got paralysis on a range 8 gun, and it has something called Paralytic Aura. Cost 2, so you have to use 2 of its 3 Fury stat, and this model gains +2 defense and armor against range attacks. Whilst within 2 inches of this model, friendly models gain +2 defense and armor against range attacks, and enemy models suffer -2 defense. That is pretty good. It's got eyeless sight as well. You've got the Cyclops Brute. It's got Intuition, Shield Guard, armor 19, defense 13. Quite tasty. Reach, set defense. Only costs 5 points. I never see anyone field one. I'm not really sure why. There are probably better options actually in the book, other than the Cyclops. So you got the Savage, who's one of the guys who comes in the standard box. He can boost attack and damage rolls after rolling dice, so that's something that's quite nice. He can also hand that out as an animus to people. Apart from that, he's only 5 points, so you're not going to be expecting a huge amount from him. You got the Cyclops Shaman, who can craft talisman, use a friendly faction animus as though it was his own, as long as it's in his 7-inch command range. He ignores line of sight when shooting things with his range 10, POW 12 magical evil eye, and he can actually cause enemy upkeep spells and animine target friendly model units to expire. Quite nice. It costs 2 though, range 6. You've got the Razor Worm that has advanced deployment, Isle of Sight, Pathfinder, Dig In, and it can't be knocked down. It also can give out Girded, which basically means anything in base-to-base contact with it ignores blast damage. Again, it's only 4 points. Quite nice, I guess, if you're going to be facing a lot of blast damage. You got the Rhinodon. It's got Amok as an animus. Trolls and Circle players know that Amok is a very nice animus. It boosts attack rolls from special attacks. It's quite tasty. It's also got 3 initials. Enemy models hitting it in its back arc take damage. It's got Thresher. It's got Open Fists, only 7 points. Its power and strength are a little on the lower side for its melee weapons, but still quite nice for the cost. You've then got the Titan Cannoneer. Not seen that often actually. Possibly because some of the melee Titans are a bit better, but it does have a power and strength 13 cannon, 15 cannon even, at range 12. So I imagine that could be quite nice. You know, it's 9 points though, so I think the issue is there are arguably better heavies for melee damage output. Speaking of which, Titan Gladiator, Titan Sentry. Gladiator has Rush as an animus, brilliant animus. It's got follow up, it's got Grand Slam, it's got 2 Open Fists, power and strength 15, 16, 16. You know, that's quite a nice beast for 8 points. You've got the Titan Sentry, which is very similar, but obviously it's got higher armour, because it actually clocks in at armour 21, which is quite nice. It's a point more. It has got reach and set defence though. Again, it's a nice. The model for the Sentry is actually quite a nice model as well. And then you've got the Bronze Back, which is sort of like the head of the Titans. 10 points. So Train Wreck as an animus. Counter Charge. It's hyper aggressive. Titans within its command range automatically pass threshold checks. It's got Chain Attack, Grab and Smash. 2 power and strength 17s and a power and strength 16. What's not to love? Brilliant, nice bit of artwork. You've got Moloch Khan. This is the guy to look out for if you're playing against Skorne. Mostly because he has, for a Skorne beast, he's a character heavy, so he has a rather large threat range though, due to the fact he has a Weapon Master combo strike as well. So that's right, on the charge he can give a power and strength 18 Weapon Master at mat 7. He can sidestep, he can boost attack and damage rolls after, that's right, after he initially makes his rolls, much like some of the other the Cyclops. He has an affinity with Makeda, which gives him Fury 5, very nice. And while on this model's command range, friendly Cyclops models can use its current command and threshold in place of their own stats, command in his case being 8. And he has the animus of Fate Walker. After all, friendly models end their activations this turn, this model can make a full advance. Fate Walker lasts for 1 turn, so he's very fast. So now we're on to the troops. The standard infantry. You've got sort of like how the armour goes on a Skorne model over there, and sort of how the different houses and their glyphs. There you go. How the different banners are laid out as well. So you've got the Paingiver Bloodrunners. They're 5 for 6 of them. Pathfinder Stealth, Advanced Deployment, Anatomical Precision. You know, they're Defense 14, as seems to be standard with Stealth these days, but a low armour stat. Again, I think they're a reasonable flank unit, I think, but other than that, I don't see them very often. I don't even hear people talk about them that often either, which is a bit of a shame. You've next got the Cataphract Actuari, which have a harpoon with drag, combined range attack, power 12. They are Weapon Master also in melee, at power and strength 12. They've got 8 hitboxes each, 6, 9, depending on how many you take. Cataphract Citrati, combined melee attack, shield warlord, reach, Weapon Master. Weapon Master on power and strength 11 attack. Very nice. Especially given under shield wall, they become armor 20. You've then got Tyrant Vorkesh, who is a character unit attachment for said unit. He has combined melee attack, fearless, officer, cleave, granted spell ward, and tactics precision strike. And his spear is a blessed spear as well. So that's quite nice. Got the Immortals, which is basically it's a unit of reanimated statues. When they begin their activation in the command range of an Ancestral Guardian, the model gains +2 movement in this activation. They have Vengeance and they have a reach weapon. Very sort of standard fare for a unit. More on the attacking side than the damage side. They are only speed 4 standard though, so you probably, if you're going to field them, don't get me wrong, they look really nice though. I'm just not sure they would see. There's a lot of other options in the Skorne book that, because Skorne are able to run beast heavy thanks to these guys on this next page, you don't tend to see infantry unless it fulfills a specific role, like the Citrati. Then, because they're obviously good at bricking and damage output, and they're not that many more points than these, 8, 11, 5, 8. So I think it depends a lot on what sort of role you're looking to find in the army. Onto the Paingiver Beast Handlers. They're basically the choir of Skorne, is probably the best way of putting it. Anatomical precision, beast manipulation, which basically pick one of 3 abilities and then hit a beast, and that's what they get. They have in range, which is +2 strength, and must charge or make a slam or trample power attack without being forced. They've got range 3 Medicae, which is basically the healing one. Or they can put on or remove Fury. They can also whip war beasts with their melee weapons, and then they can choose to remove or add a point of Fury, which is useful on both your own and on your opponents. Praetorian Ferox, who doesn't want weird pain psychic vampires riding giant saber-toothed tigers. Again, I quite like the idea behind them. I've just never seen anyone field them, which is a bit of a shame. The artwork for them looks great. They've speed 8, so they're quite fast for Skorne, and they have brutal charge, which makes them equivalent power and strength 14, so it's quite nice. And they've got Pathfinder as well. I'm surprised they don't see more use more often. Then again, we don't have many Skorne players in our local meta, so it might be that perhaps we're missing out on something there that other people take. You've got the Praetorian Carax. They are basically, they're your standard 4/6 blocking unit. They have ranked attacks, they have shield wall, they have reach. They don't take blast damage, they have combined melee attack. They get in the way, they block, they die. That's, you know, it's your standard sort of 4/6 unit. You've got the Praetorian Swordsmen, which are the same, but they're more about damage dealing than defence. They've got combo strikes, they become effective strength, power and strength 12 on the charge, and they can choose where, or they can choose to automatically deal 1 point of damage if they fail to exceed the armour. And then the officer grants them sidestep and ranked attacks, so quite nice, given that they have 2 melee attacks as well. The Annihilators, which are fearless, tough, berserk, and have reach. Quite a no frills unit, but then again, they're reasonably good at infantry clearance, given their mat 7 and berserk. So it could be quite nice at getting in and ripping apart some things. You've then got a unit which buffs the Cataphract. Well, basically just buff the Cataphract. It's got the battle plans again, much like the Tyrant did earlier, which you can dosh out to things. It's also got a Weapon Master commander. They are field allowance 2, so you can be dropping battle plans all over the place. And because they're not attached to a specific unit, it means you're not limited to giving the specific unit those abilities. You got the Venator catapult crew, range 16, AoE 4, power 15. It's inaccurate though. Does have arcing fire, light artillery, rangefinder, minimum range 8 though. That might be your kicker. You can get inside that, then they're going to be causing trouble. Let's got the flare cannon, which actually seems to be quite a nice one. It's got D3 shots when it fires. It's power and strength 12, but the power and strength actually goes up against models with large or medium bases, which is quite a nice idea. So it becomes power and strength 14 against large based models. The Venator Reavers, which basically got the same sort of gun, but the infantry version. Range 12, power 10, burst fire. So again, they do the slightly more damage to the larger base models or the medium base models. Combined range attack. You know, cost of 5. They're 5/9. You know, again, it's sort of a standard shooting unit, just with a little bit of Skorne flavour on it. Their UA has a mini feat of extended fire, so they'll gain snipe for a turn. So range 16, not bad, and grants them reform, very nice. So then we're into the solos. We've got the Agonizer. Basically, they are only field allowance 1, but from what I read, they're pretty decent. They're fearless. Once during an activation, model can spend 1 fury point to use one of the following abilities. Enemy models suffer these effects whilst in 4 inch of this model, plus 1 inch per fury point left on them. So enemy war beasts either suffer -2 to their damage rolls, -2 threshold, or lose their animi. And affected enemy warjacks lose the Arcanode advantage and cannot be allocated focus. They can get fury put on them using this fury bank rule by their warcaster, warlock even. He can put fury into them, so they can sit there with the fury on them. They can have up to 5 fury, which is quite nice. So it means they can potentially sit there and do a 9 inch pulse of -2 on the damage rolls. Quite nice. Or the getting rid of their animi. Got the Ancestral Guardian solos. They've got defensive strike. They're a construct. They've got a decent armour stat actually. They're armour 18 with 10 hitboxes, 3 points. They're steady. They can spend a soul token to gain +2 movement. They have reach. Again, they're alright, they're quite nice. Again, I quite like the idea of them, and the fact that you put a soul of an ancestor in one of these stone statues and it animates. A Pain Giver, Blood Runner, Master Tormentor. It's kind of like a mini Morgul, I suppose, is probably the way forward. Advanced Deployment, Pathfinder, Stealth, Anatomical Precision, Sprint. For any Pain Giver Blood Runner units, gain +2 to attack rolls whilst within its line of sight, and it's got a Thresh or a Reach weapon. That's about it. It's alright, I guess. Like I said, a bit like a mini Morgul, really. Not sure where this would fit in, to be honest, in a Skorne army, in a Skorne list. But that might be, again, because I'm missing something, not really knowing quite a lot about how Skorne work. You've got the Ixtola Soul Ward. It's got Gunfighter. It's got Ghost Shield, so +1 armour for each soul token on it. It's got a range 5 target friendly faction model. If this model is in range, it gains eyeless sight and its weapons gain magical weapon for 1 turn. That's quite nice. During its activation, it can remove soul tokens from it and place them on friendly faction models in its command range, providing they have the Soul Guardian ability. It gains 1 soul token for each friendly living faction warrior model destroyed in its command range by a continuous effect, an enemy attack or a collateral damage roll, and it can spend those to gain extra attacks and all this sort of stuff. Also ignores line of sight when making shots with its gun, and when a living model is hit by this attack, add its current strength to the damage roll. Quite nice. You got the Pain Giver Taskmaster, which is basically a UA that attaches to minion units. Quite nice. You see by the art there, he's got himself some gators. He makes them immune to knockdown, which is quite nice. He can then also give them fearless and tough for 1 round, or +2 strength. Or is he? Oh no, he's a solo. Sorry, he's not a unit attachment. My apologies. but those are quite nice abilities. Basically, you can make gators tough and then walk around behind them so they don't fall over. It also has an ability to make enemy warrior models suffer -2 defense, and that they cannot advance while in his melee range. Again, quite nice, especially given he has reach. You've then got the Void Spirits, Abomination, Incorporeal, Undead. When a living model is destroyed within 3 inches of this model, it never generates a soul token. It's got Poltergeist, as we mentioned earlier. It's got a magical weapon, and when it kills someone, they explode into an ash cloud. Quite nice. And then we're into the character solos. You've got Optimus Marketh, who's an Extoller character solo. He's fearless. You attach him to a warlock. He gains soul tokens like the guy from earlier. But he's a spell slave, quite nice. Special action basically, you can cast a spell that costs 3 or less from your caster's spell list, quite nice. You've got Hakar the Destroyer, who's an Ancestor Guardian solo. He gains +1 armor for each soul token on him. He has Righteous Vengeance, which means if other models are killed, he basically stomps around with the Vengeance rule. He's also a Soul Guardian. He has Combo Strike and Life Drinker. His Combo Strike would actually be Power Strength 18. Quite nice. His magical weapons as well. You've got Tyrant Radim, who's a Dragoon character solo, which basically means if you kill his saber-toothed tiger, he runs around on his feet. He's steady. He's Veteran Leader for the Praetorian Ferox. He's evasive. It's quite nice. Pathfinder, Commander, Combat Rider. And his lance, which I must say is a Power and Strength 12 lance, is an armor piercing Power and Strength 12 lance with reach. So he can charge 11 plus his 2 inches of reach, so that's quite nice. 13-inch armor piercing attack. You get a strength buff on him and charge something, it's in for some trouble. So then we're into the painting guide, basically just going over sort of the typical Skorne red for the armour, how the flesh works. Obviously the flesh is very different to a sort of standard human flesh. Painting their banners, painting cloth, getting this glossy nice stone effect on the immortals and the gems, getting the steel and the gold so it had some depth. And then we're into the gallery, so you've got all the casters across these couple of pages, including, there we go, there's Rasheth that we talked about earlier. Some of these models are actually quite nice models. I must admit the Skorne aesthetic never really appealed to me, but I can see, looking at some of the models, I can see why people would like them. You've got Reavers, you've got the Titans, you've got the Cyclops. There's the 2 Cataphract units, 2 Basilisks, there's the Bronzeback Titan, some more infantry units there. There's your Beast Handlers. Get into some. There you go, there's the Praetorian Ferox. Tyrant Commander, there's Mullet Khan at the bottom left. And there we've got some of the Immortals, the Agonizer, the Raiden, the Razorworm, the Titan Sentry, and Hakar the Destroyer. And then we've got the last 2, the Praetorian Carax and the 2 Cyclops units. Right, so that was our look at the Forces of Hordes Skorne book. Should be back soon looking at the Minions book, and then after that we'll go into Domination and Gargantuans. So thanks for watching. This is Scapegoat Stephen. Bye for now.